Turn to Matthew 6. We'll be there in just a moment. Matthew 6. I want you to ponder a moment. Most of us have had this experience, the battles in the night. And what I'm talking about is you're laying there in bed and you're thinking about everything that could go wrong tomorrow, next week, 6 months from now, 10 years from now, who knows? It may be the bills that are unpaid, a health issue that's unresolved, just some whatever. Our mind can go so many places. And instead of getting a good solid night's sleep so that we can attack tomorrow with all that we have, we lose half a night's sleep and wake up the next morning dreary to get out of bed and not looking forward to the day. Anybody relate to that? I think most of us have done that more than once. We can rehearse those problems over and over again. And the odd thing about it, the irony, if I may, is that we are in a discipleship, and part of our discipleship practice is there in Matthew 6 and verse 34, where he says, do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Each day has enough trouble for its own. And isn't that the truth? Each day has plenty of trouble for its own. Now, I know how we get around this verse because we play games with ourselves because of the ambiguity of language. And I had one lady explain this to me once back when I used to be in Indiana. She said, I went to the dictionary and I looked up the word worry and it said concern. I looked up the word concern, it said worry. She said, honey, I ain't worrying, I'm just concerned. Now, there is a planning ahead that is okay, and there is the sense of responsibility, and that is okay. And then there is that thing that we do that drains us of our energy, and we focus on what has not even come yet, and we borrow troubles from tomorrow and bring them into today, and that is what's not good for us. That is when Christ says, don't worry about it. You focus on today. You get today right. But is it even possible not to worry? I'm going to think, well, I'm not really sure. And the reason I'm going to hedge on you is because we have all done it. And we will probably all do it again at some time in the future because, as I often say, no one bats 1,000. And the ironic thing is most of these fears never ever come to pass. When I was a child, I was told a corny joke about a guy who was on the street corner down in the middle of New York banging two sticks together. And somebody came up to him and said, what are you doing? He says, well, when you bang these sticks together, it keeps the lines away. And the guy said to him, there's not a line within 1,000 miles of this place. He said, see, it works. That's what we do with worry. Most of our worries never ever come to pass. There are things that would never ever come to pass, but we convince ourselves that our worry built a bubble and shield around us, and thus we kept them away because we were responsible enough to expend our energy on a sleepless night and distracted. Let's go to Lamentations 3:22 for just a moment. Get to Jeremiah, and then right after Jeremiah. So I know Lamentations, I was thinking it may be time to do just a nice long lesson on Lamentations. Not a book we look at very often. So chapter 3, verse 22. The Lord's loving kindness indeed never ceases, for his compassions never fail. Here's the part I want you to get. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. God is faithful. When Christ said, worry about today. Focus on today. Today is where you need to put it. And now tomorrow morning, God will be there with you. And his love will be new. His mercies will be new each day. So God's plan is to provide for today. That is where he wants our focus, one day at a time. We have that old saying, I don't know how many different ways you've heard it, but you can only live one day at a time. So our question is, what would happen if you set down the weights of all of your tomorrow worries and just did the best you could today? And there's another little irony there. If you do the best you can today, then you set the best stage for tomorrow. And so there's a little Little payback there. So the nature of the beast, the worry, it sneaks through any little crack that happens. And it could just be, some people, they just overthink everything. And it can even get down to the way and the tone somebody spoke when they said hello. Heard a preacher say once he was at the grocery store and he's going through the grocery store and he passed one of his church members and said hello, and she totally just ignored him. He looked at that and thought, well, she just totally blew me off. And then he got trying to figure it out. Later on, he saw her, said, I saw you at the grocery store the other day. And she said, huh? She had never seen him. In fact, she explained she had her ear pods in and she was listening to her music. She never heard him either. There was nothing negative in that exchange whatsoever, except she was very focused on what she was doing and not paying attention to her surroundings. And he's wondering, oh, did I say something in the sermon that made her mad? Did I forget this? Did I forget that? You know how it goes. It can just be any little thing, or it can be more major. It just comes in any place it can get in. And none of us are foolproof from it. I'm going to go to Proverbs 12 and 25 briefly. Proverbs 12 and 25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs it down, but a good word makes it glad. And that anxiety is the last thing we really want in our heart, isn't it? We don't go looking for anxiety. We don't want it there. We're actually trying to get rid of it, and we get kind of caught up in this conundrum where we think we're trying to get rid of it, but all we're doing is stirring it up because we're rehearsing and replaying and thinking, yeah, but what if? And this is kind of what the brain does. If you can believe some modern psychology, and I always want to put a little asterisk there, but let's say I want you to imagine our ancestors who lived in the bush, who lived in the wild, who didn't have all the modern conveniences we did. They always had to be aware of the dangers around them. So they're constantly scanning. Is there a lion out there? Is there a bear out there? Is there a rattlesnake out there that's going to get me? Is there a danger that's going to end my life? Now, the good news is you are the descendant of a lineage who got it right every time. Because hadn't they got it right, that lineage would have stopped and you wouldn't be here. And so you develop from that lineage, so the psychology goes, and our brains are constantly scanning and looking. Okay, there's some wisdom in that. We tell people all the time, you need to be aware of your surroundings. When you come out of Walmart, do not bury your face in your iPhone and look down at the ground and walk towards your car as though you're living in a perfectly safe world. Somebody going to come up and steal your purse or your wallet or you. Be aware. That's good. But we cross a line when we sit in our house and go, I can't go to Walmart. I'm scared to death to go to Walmart. And now we let the fear and the anxiety weigh us down. And you have to find that balance within your own mind and your own heart. And that can be a little difficult. You might want to talk to somebody about it because you don't want the awareness of what could go wrong to drain you of your strength today. You do want to take that strength and put it in something constructive, something you can build. Let's look at Psalms 55:22 just for 1 second. Psalms 55 and 22. He says, cast your burdens upon the Lord and he will sustain you. He will never allow you to be shaken. You're going to get through it. If you're still alive, there is a path forward. I cannot tell you what that path is. I don't have that kind of all-knowing knowledge, but I know there is a path forward. And I know that everything life has thrown at you to this day, and you know it too. You've survived it. How did you get through it? Well, a lot of times there's a lot of tears and pain. There's some heartache and what have you. We understand that. That's why we weep with those who weep. But we also understand that somehow God sustained us. And those of us who have built on that more solid anchor of his word and have really set our hopes on heaven and set our sights on heaven, yes, our world is rocked sometimes by those big events, but we know we're not a solo act. And we know this world is not my home. I'm just passing through. I'm going on to someplace better than this. I'm not going to let all that worry sneak in and steal my joy out of this gift of life that God gave me. Philippians 4:6 would tell us to pray. in everything. Let's read it. Philippians 4:6. If it's of concern to you, you pray. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Cast it upon him, so to speak. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And isn't this next verse what we're really after? And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And then if you can take it on to verse 8 and put your mind on whatever's true, honorable, pure, so on and so forth, you're going to be in a good place. And where do you want to be? In a good place. And the Bible gives us the recipe for how to be in a good place. So prayer is going to help us move forward. And I personally have no problem if your prayer is something as simple as this. Lord, I don't know where this is going. I don't know what you're doing, but I know you know more than I do. I'm going to stay with you. That's fine. I don't think we're called to know everything. We're just called to be faithful one day at a time. One day at a time. And there are times when you're going to have to narrow that down a little more. And it may be a half a day at a time. Or it may be just an hour at a time. But you can get through the hour. You can get through the next one. You can get through a day. You can get through the next one. So we're going to keep our faith on God. We're going to keep our faith in heaven, because worry is just negative faith. Faith in God is He's got this. He'll handle it. We're good. Don't know where all it's going, but we're going to be good. Worry is, I don't know if God can really do this. I don't know if God's going where I really want to go. Now, there's a problem with that statement. I don't know if God's going where I really want to go. Who's the leader? Who's the guide? Whose agenda is to be fulfilled throughout our lives? And it's not where I want to go. It is where He wants to go. He is the potter. We are the clay. And sometimes we have some lumps in us that He's got to work out. And it takes some pretty vigorous action to work those lumps out. So we ask ourselves in our first point, are we wasting today's strength on tomorrow's imaginations? When you catch yourself wasting your strength today on tomorrow's imaginations, and when I talk about wasting your strength, I'm not talking about making plans for the future that are responsible. I'm talking about you're draining yourself. You're worried. You got that pit in your stomach. You need to go take some Tums, or you got to go take some Tylenol or something, because it is just, it's here. It's bad. And just tell yourself, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going this direction. I'm going to focus on getting through today, because what did Christ say? And you can quote Him. Don't worry about tomorrow. This is part of discipleship training. So He gives us our daily bread. We don't get a detailed map of the entire journey ahead. We talk about taking road trips and stuff, and I know Chris and Carrie just had a fun road trip. They had 9 days planned out. I think Carrie did a whole lot of the planning and knew where they were going and where they were going to stop, and had a lot of the big things down. And then they threw in some little things on the fly there, which is a lot of fun. But how many of you have taken a road trip and say, we're going to be on the road 9 days, and somebody said, where are you going? I said, well, no. We're just going to get up in the morning, get in the car, and start driving. Somewhere we'll find a motel and stop. We'll stop at McDonald's, and then the next day we'll get up and we'll go somewhere. We don't do that, do we? It might be a fun experiment, but we don't do that. We like to have that map, and we like to have things planned out. We like to know where we're going. And that's not the way God works. How many of us know what tomorrow will bring? Not a one of us. Well, why don't we? Because God did not create us with that capability. He created us extremely finite, very, very limited, and He wants us to trust in His leadership and trust that He's the good shepherd and He knows the path we need to take. So in Matthew 6:11, we would pray in what we call the model prayer, give us this day our daily bread. We do not pray, give us this month our month's worth of bread, or this year our year's worth of bread. We ask for today's bread today. And then we trust that tomorrow will work out. By that, what I mean, because I know American minds going, what are you saying, preacher? We're not going to worry about tomorrow. We know tomorrow will work out. Come on. Well, as I look across the auditorium, with the exception of little Reese perhaps, every one of you have 14 plus years knowing that tomorrow always worked out. And it does. One day will be your last day. I understand that. But if you live faithful, that will work out too. So our dependence, it's renewed every day. We were created to depend on God. We were not created to be independent of God. And that's a little tough for the flesh to get its mind around. People want that warehouse full. They want to know what all's coming. I want an itinerary. I want it all stocked up where I can go in and take inventory of it and go, oh, okay. When I'm 92, I get to open this. When I'm 94, I get to open this one. Not the way it works. Kind of a fun idea. The lesson of the manna in the Old Testament. They got to pick up the manna fresh every day. You remember the story? Some of them went out and they got more manna than they were supposed to get, and they tried to hoard it, and they opened it up the next morning and it had rotted on them and turned to worms. Yeah. Not my design, that's God's design. That's the way He put it together. We get our daily bread. We live out today first. Let's get today right. Let's make today the absolute best we can make it, whatever that means for us, wherever you're at in your particular stage or season of life, make it the best. And again, the wisdom of that, as I stated earlier, is simply this. If you will really focus on making today the absolute best you can make it, you could not set the stage better for tomorrow. And then tomorrow is already set up to get off to a good start. So we're going to live our life like it's a long journey driving at night. And it'll be a long journey. We're just heading from here to Little Rock. The movie's over. It's dark. My headlights don't shine 34 miles down the road to show me everything that's ahead. My headlights shine, I guess, a couple of 100 yards down the road so I can see enough to go. But that's all I need to see, isn't it? And I can leave the theater at 10 o'clock, and with that very little limited vision, I can get all the way back to Pine Bluff. That's how we're going to do life. I can't see very far ahead. In fact, I really can't see this afternoon. I have some plans this afternoon, which incidentally include a nap after a good big old birthday lunch. But I can't see that far. But I can see far enough just to keep going. Jesus set the example for us of one day at a time. And I will preface this with saying it was probably a little more extreme than anything you and I are going to experience. Let's go to Matthew 8:20 for just a moment. Matthew 8:20. When Christ said one day at a time, did He ever mean it? Jesus said to him, the foxes have holes and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay His head. If you'd have come up to meet Jesus and say, what's your address? He couldn't give you one. Where are you staying? Well, tonight I might be staying in the garden. Oh, I might be staying at that disciple's house the next night. I might just be sleeping outdoors the next night. I'll be sleeping on a boat one night. You couldn't send him a letter, could you? Because he didn't have a permanent place to stay. He didn't have storage wagons that followed him. It wasn't like the old Gunsmoke or something where you had the chuck wagon coming along with all the beans on it. In fact, they had so little supplies that they kept with them. In Matthew 12:1, they're walking through the fields, and the disciples pluck the heads of grain and start to eat. Because they didn't have chuck wagon. Matthew 16, 6 through 10. Jesus said, watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. They began to discuss this among themselves, saying, He said that it because we did not bring any bread. Now they're thinking physical. He's not. But Jesus said to this, you men of little faith, why do you discuss among yourselves that you have no bread? Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many basketfuls you picked up? The 7 loaves and the 4,000, and how many large basketfuls you picked up? The disciples were thinking physical. Christ is thinking spiritual. And Christ wasn't worried about whether they had bread or not. He knew they weren't going to starve to death. And incidentally, most Americans are not too close to starving to death. Jesus simply just lived one day at a time. He carried on. And he completed his mission. Luke 12. Luke 12:16. And he told them a parable saying, the land of a rich man was very productive. And he began reasoning to himself, saying, what shall I do, since I have no place to store my crops? Then he said, this I will do. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I'll restore all my grain and my good. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have many goods laid up for many years to come. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your soul is required of you. And now who will own what you have prepared? So is the man who stores up treasures for himself and is not rich toward God. God's not really concerned about your bank account, size of your house, the kind of car you drive, the brand of clothes you wear, and that kind of thing. He wants you to be rich toward him. He wants you to live with spiritual riches aimed at the true riches. So the question is, can we obey today? Can we just invest in today and make it the best we can without demanding tomorrow's guarantee first? And it's real easy to talk about in a sermon. But in actual practice, it becomes another thing. Then we have the mystery of our walk in life. We profess one thing. Oh, I'm Christian. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to follow the teachings of Jesus. And we profess it, but how well do we practice it? It gets tough, doesn't it? Really, it does get tough. It is a straight and narrow way. So we can say with Job in Bible class, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And that sounds really, really good. This is extreme hypothetical. What if an angel knocked on your door today, said, you're going home today. It's time to leave. Could you look at the situation you're in and go, all right, I've been waiting for this time, and I know this is the perfect timing. God knows what he's doing. Or would it be like, just a minute, I need to shut the door. And now, start scurrying around for other things. Are you really ready to go? Do you really trust God so much that if he lets me live to be 102, he knows exactly what he's doing? If he decides I need to die at 62, he knows exactly what he's doing. And somehow, in a way, beyond what my little limited 3-pound brain can ever comprehend, he's got the perfect plan working out. And I like to illustrate it this way by saying we just see the backside of the tapestry, the loose threads. It doesn't all make sense. But when we get on the other side in glory and we look back, we'll see what it's been working on and go, that was perfect. If I'd have got my agenda, I'd have messed that all up. You did know exactly what you were doing. So even when we suffer, it's not wasted. Now that would be our James 1. Verse 2, 3, and 4, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. It's all a bit of how you approach it and the attitude you have in mind. In Psalms 23:4, we say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Great verse. What is the valley of the shadow of death? Normally, what I think we do is we put that at funeral time, and that definitely that would qualify. Or surgery waiting room time, whether you're in the waiting room or the surgery room, I think that would qualify too. Those big upheaval moments where you really, you can't, it's like you can't see your hand in front of your face. I want to take you a little further. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it can be a lot of things. I want you to do it this way. Every little irritation that comes your way. Quote Psalms 23:4. Some of you are into the news. I don't watch the news. I tell people, quit watching TV. You're wasting time. They go, well, I just watch the news. I'm like, that's the one I want you to quit first. That's the one that drives you nuts. Watch the football game. That'd be a little bit better, maybe, depending on who you were pulling for yesterday. But anyway, so whatever the irritation is, people driving crazy on the road, I'm heading up the Little Rock, doing my little thing. I'm driving 70, 75 because that's in the speed limit range, right? And there are people blowing past me going 90. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Doesn't matter, does it? God's with me. It's okay. Let them people drive any way they want to do. You got a cranky clerk? That's one of the reasons, Kentucky Fried up here on 28 shut down. One of the most unfriendly places you could ever go. I wanted to quit going there. I quit going there. Then they shut down. You walk in, it was like, why are you here? Can't you see I'm on my phone? And you're wanting to buy some chicken? What kind of fool are you? And it's just like, okay. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. You got a relationship problem going on, your wife not acting the way you think she should, or your husband not acting the way you think he should. Surprise, surprise, right? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. What I'm trying to say is don't take this, I'm not going to worry about tomorrow, and just reserve it for funerals and intensive care situations. This is the daily stuff. Set your mind on heaven. Keep looking to heaven. This is where we're going. This is where we want to go. We're trying to get on through this world. This is just our training, our practice, our audition. So we're going to lay down tomorrow's burden. And think about it, what you did. Look, I don't know what the world's going to be like for my grandkids or my great-grandkids. I don't have a clue. But this one thing I know. If they want to go to heaven, they can get to heaven from any situation this world produces. It can be Caesar telling all the Christians to leave Rome. We don't want you here anymore. My grandkids can still go to heaven while they're leaving Rome. It can be a persecution. It can be the Holocaust. And my grandkids can still go to heaven. If I'll keep my focus on what really matters, the rest of it was just temporary vapor anyway. Oh, but don't you want your kids to have fun? Don't you want them to enjoy life? Yes, but I want them to enjoy heaven more. Because if they have the ideal earthly life, finances, relationships, and holidays, but don't have Jesus, they got nothing. Absolutely nothing. What if I just lay all those burdens down and go, look, they're grown. They'll figure it out. That's their business. Faith is the key. God knows what he's doing. He's sitting on the throne. He is in charge. Our peace doesn't come from controlling outcomes, but from knowing God who does. That's where our peace comes from. So let's wind it up. Don't worry about tomorrow. That's straight up what Jesus said. Let it go. Wait till you get to tomorrow to deal with it. Now, when you get to tomorrow and tomorrow becomes today, deal with it. That's what Jesus said also. Faith that God's going to be there with you. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he's there. The unbearable will become bearable. And we go, no, it won't. Yes, it will. Come on, look at the stories we have in this auditorium right here. And we bore through every single one of them. Everyone. Every situation. Life has not defeated us yet. Don't tell me it's going to be unbearable. Tell me it's going to be hard. Tell me you're going to cry. Tell me we're going to cry together. I'll agree with that. But you're going to get through it. You're going to move forward. And you're going to find a new path. So what troubles do you really want to borrow from tomorrow? When I word it that way, I'm like, I don't want to borrow any of them tomorrow. What fear keeps you awake at night? Look at it. Write it down. And pray about it. What would it look like? What would it feel like if you laid it down? Think about that a minute. Just fantasize. What would it be like if you quit worrying about all the stuff you heard on the news, all the stuff you saw on social media, all the imaginations that run through your head? What would it be like if you just let those go and just enjoy today? Does it sound like a good place to be? Faith. We give up the illusion of control. God's in control, but it gives us freedom from carrying tomorrow's weights when we learn the secret of really living one day at a time. So you don't need all tomorrow's answers today. You just need today's faith. Just one simple day at a time. I think it's a pretty good plan. That leaves us with one simple question. Are you walking with Jesus one day at a time? If not, it's time to make an adjustment. If we can help you in a public way, let us do so. While together we stand and sing.